the meeting to order. As the vice president of the RDC, I'll call this meeting to order. We got roll calls to determine the quorum. Maybe we shouldn't do that yet. Any quorum? Are we not doing the oath of office because Tim's not here?
Yeah, since Tim's not here, we'll scratch that one.
Mike, can you
Yeah,
guys
RDA.
do
Yeah, we could do our,
elections?
yeah, and approve the minutes, for the last meeting,
So
so,
we can do the oath, we can approve the minutes.
yeah.
Okay. We're gonna do election of officers first, if that's okay. And I nominate Mike Roman for president.
And I guess I second it. All, Mike Romack's been nominated, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And, as vice president, nominate, Jeanette Isbell. And,
I'll second that.
and so we've got a vice president nominated, and all in favor, say aye. Aye. And I guess we'll nominate, Ashley Houston as, secretary. I will nominate her,
And I'll second that.
and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we have that, and, we have minutes in front of us from the November 27th meeting. And, you want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
Sure. I make a motion, we approve the minutes of the special meeting November 27th, 23.
And I second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we're done.
Very good.
Craven says he's close.
We can approve our minutes as well, so, has the RDC had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting, February 1st?
Yes, I'm sure he's reading.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll make that motion. I think you gotta wait.
I do.
Yeah, we can't do it. Yeah, we don't have enough.
So we'll speak amongst ourselves.
I can go into this,
Yeah.
the Kilcarney property agreement is the way it's a rough draft of how it stands. So I can do that, or we could wait for Dave.
Dave often has really good input on this stuff, but
Yeah.
I was prefer he either.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Okay.
This whole thing. A lot of stuff, you know.
That's what we're waiting to hear about.
Mhm.
In your head. There was
What did you know?
a bunch of maneuvering, only 5 bills survived. It
is gonna be a car
Car
So
wash.
everybody done.
not a.
I had one of them dumped
It's
in my
not a-
bill, so there were 60 different bills, so I haven't had to do it.
They gotta build that up.
I don't remember.
So the water will run off with something
Yeah,
else,
at the
but there's
time, I
no
knew
place for it
each
to
one
go.
did.
Sure.
If I didn't want it,
Car
then
wash?
I would
Right there next to Speedway.
accept it, but
Yeah.
I
Scott,
didn't,
that's gonna be a car wash next to Speedway, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's gonna be a franchise or independent. So Brandon Buck, he lives on Broadway.
Yeah.
His building and owns it. And he's also the owner of the construction company that's building the drain behind your house. Did we rip out a lot of trees, by the way?
None of ours, thank you. But yes, you did rip out a lot of trees.
They weren't supposed to.
Are you kidding me?
No, last week we had a pre-construction meeting. I said, how many trees are you taking out? Tell me what trees you're taking. They said the only one, the one on the corner with the Zach Berline's house, the rental.
Yep.
Right there down. Big old tree. And I said, that's gotta come out. Called Zach. I said, if you talk to him, no, what are you supposed to? I called Zach right there in the meeting. I said, we're taking your tree out. It's growing on top of our line. It's gotta come out. Like, I said, we're gonna take out the other brush along there too, right? So then I said to the contractor, any place else? Well, there was one lady that came out and she said we could take out these bushes. Right? I said, okay, so that's 2 spots. That's all you're doing. Yep, that's all we're doing. Next thing we know, I'm on vacation. I get a call from a property owner. They are ripping every tree I have.
They
And
took
I'm like,
down
what?
2 or 3 really big, nice trees right up there on the hill. I looked at it, I thought, why did those have to go? That's
They
not
weren't supposed to
really
do
the way.
it. They weren't supposed to do it.
And all, I mean, Zach's arborvitae's were terrible anyway, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, it was a nice cover.
So anyway, the town's gonna be spending a lot of money on trees.
That's, I was hoping you could put some screen back, green
Yeah,
screen.
well, we gotta put back everything we got.
Damn.
And then I said, okay, who did you contact the property owners? No. So I called the engineering firm. What does the contract specifications say, the bidding specs say about contacting the property owner? Looked it up and said, sure enough, it's supposed to be the contractor, which I always thought it was. But the contractor said, no, that's the engineering. No, it was in the bid specs that you were supposed to. So we made him go back and contact every owner.
Lisa talked to somebody from Banning. They came to the
Yeah.
door and
Yeah,
asked about it.
yeah, Banning went ahead and did it, even though the contractor's supposed to. Because now we don't trust him to do it. And so Banning went through, knocked on every door and told him what was going on.
I was up there last night after I got back to work, man, they chewed that up. I thought maybe you're putting in a nice bicycle path all the way
I
down
know,
Napa
yeah.
or something. you know?
But now that it's stripped down like that, the town obviously made a mistake 15 years ago. They should have bought it and taken it by eminent domain and put a bicycle path.
Yeah,
Pedestrian.
cause it was one kind of, anyway, lots of people used it. It was just a place to walk the dogs and.
Yeah, yeah. But there was a big lawsuit years ago when railroads came in, it was basically an easement. They didn't technically own the property the way it was taken. So when the railroad abandoned it, the property lines basically go down to the center of that.
Really?
Yeah, so you own to the center of the old railroad.
Well, we don't.
Oh,
That's why Banning came to our door about the arborvitae, Zach's arborvitae's. They thought they were ours. We were told when we bought the house that originally that property went from Maine all the way back to the line. But they sold off that little piece where Zach's place is to K, I think, Crazy K. And that little corner was no longer ours.
but originally it was.
Originally it was.
Yeah. So they went to the center line and the court, it went all the way to the Supreme Court, though. The railroad had to turn it back over to where the original property lines were.
Wow.
And so that was throughout the whole United States, that's what happened. So some of these like Monon trails that happened,
Same deal?
well, yeah, exactly the same case. So turns out that some people never got compensated for that right of way. Or that
Wow.
easement, whatever.
Miles and miles of Monon Trail.
Yeah. So in some cases, they bought the easement, right? Probably somebody was smart and said, no, we ought to just go ahead and.
Of course, on the other hand, I'm glad you're not coming to us saying, you gotta pay for your little section of
Yeah,
the pipe to be fixed.
yeah. So, well, that's a public drain, so you're allowed to go back in and either repair or reconstruct.
So who owns it now? It's the property owners?
Well, there's a prescriptive easement, because it's there,
Right.
it's assumed you have an easement was granted at some point.
Prescriptive easement.
Yeah, some people call it something else, but that's basically. So if you look, this is really, sometimes it's a big issue. So when a town gets platted,
There it is.
when a town gets platted,
Mm-hmm.
there's a right of way or whatever where the roads go, and that is turned over to the town. Now the town owns that land.
Steve?
out in the country, and now some parts of the town, the property lines go to the center line of the road.
Right.
And so just through over time, it's an easement. Because the road is basically because it's there and it's been there for a long time. And also you look at utilities, so you got the road and then you look at usually telephone poles or power poles are the farthest utility out. There might be water or something like that. But that's the assumed right of way. So as long as you put infrastructure in between the farthest utility out, you're usually safe. Right? But nowadays, so for our policy now going forward is because there's a lot of roads when the town annexed, we're gonna take the right of way. We're gonna go in and we're gonna formally acquire that easement, and the town is gonna own that.
I don't know, mine's what to do there.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back, Dave.
Yep.
All right.
Good.
We were we're gonna approve the minutes of last meeting from the RDC. If you had a chance to look at them. Yes, sir. Okay. So we're on track here. We're gonna approve the minutes for the RDA meeting, I'm sorry, RDC meeting from February 1st. That was a joint meeting we had with the Plan Commission. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We'll have a second.
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes as written, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, minutes. Okay, old business.
If we don't mind, Mr. Chair, why don't we, Matt from Reedy go first? That way they can get out of here,
Yeah.
and then also that will help with a primer, just to talk about the TIF project that they're at Heritage.
Perfect.
So, I think that'll be the easier way to go, plus these guys do 9 meetings for a living, so they get out here. Picture that.
We're fine with, either way, it doesn't matter to us. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Frishy from Reedy Financial Group. I'm here on behalf of the RDC to satisfy your guys' April reporting requirement, which essentially states we need a report on all of the happenings and doings of the RDC and all the expenditures and the revenues that were received in 23. So within your Google Drive, I believe you should have this document that is on the screen. So I'll go through and kind of just point to a few different things to keep an eye on throughout this report. This also will kind of mirror your guys's, we've created a financial plan to kind of for planning purposes into the future. It'll mirror this format. So future meetings, when I come back, you'll probably see another copy of this that kind of focuses on current year, historical, and future years, and not just strictly what happened last year. Okay. So if you want to go ahead to the next page, really, we include this on this April report because it's a good outlining of all of the different annual reporting requirements that you guys are subject to, and outlines all of the things that need to be included in the April 15th report. This plan includes most of all of the requirements that would be included throughout the year, minus the TIF impact and some of the other things that we need to do as far as neutralization and June 15th pass through. But if you go on to the next page, you'll see the first piece of the April report outlining the commissioners for 23, local council, and then all of the overlapping units that your guys' TIF area has an impact on. Okay. So Madison County, Fall Creek Township, South Madison Community School Corporation, Pendleton Community Public Library, Pendleton Civil Town, and East Central Indiana Solid Waste. Moving on to the next page. This is a breakdown of all your allocation areas and their expansions, the various TIF codes and the economic or the redevelopment plans or economic development plans that allocation area falls underneath. You'll see the declaratory adopted date, the description of the area, the base assessment date, which is based on the declaratory adoption date at the time, and then our assumed TIF expiration, what year that those revenues will begin to fall off. Okay. So you'll see on the second one that it does say TBD on TIF expiration because at this time there is no debt incurred and payable by the revenues of that area. Moving on to the next page, this just shows a monthly breakdown of your guys' expenditures and revenues throughout 23. So you'll see the beginning cash balances, which will match up to the next page, and your ending cash balances, all the debt payments that occurred throughout the year, all the capital outlays, and then the various revenues that you guys received. On the next page, this is a snapshot, like I said, of our larger TIF fund page that kind of looks at one, like I said, historical, current year projections, current year to date, and then future years. So in this report, you'll just see 23. You'll see your beginning cash balance that was alluded to on the prior page, 809,482. You'll see the various revenues that were received in 23, the largest of which obviously is the TIF revenue collections, some small reimbursements and some small rent revenues. And then your various capital outlays for 23, including utilities, Tennyson Wellness Center. Now that would be separate from the actual bond payment for that Tennyson Wellness Center that's listed below in the debt payments. And then property acquisition, you guys had a 209,000 and change expenditure last year on property acquisition. You'll see the debt payments that you made in 23 for the 2015 lease rental, the 2015 waterworks, and the 2018 wellness center. And then your professional services that were included throughout 23, bringing us to a total spending of $1,102,535, surplusing $171,730. You'll see that pass-through calculation. That's not necessarily needed for this report, but it will be needed to be calculated for our June 15th pass-through calculation. So that's why we included there. And then your end of year fund balance of $981,212. Moving on to the next page, this shows just a snippet of your TIF savings fund. Not much activity in this fund, but you guys did receive some interest revenues, just over $3,000 in that account in 23. Bringing us to an ending balance right there of $137.42. On the next page, it's just a breakdown of your guys' debt and the debt that is payable by those areas. As I said, you won't see the Pendleton expansion TIF code 48402 on here. We do color code everything, make it a little bit easier. So you'll see that the two green areas are payable by that Pendleton TIF area. Those are the debts that were outstanding, the amount that we expected to pay, and then the amount that we actually paid in 23. And then Pendleton Falls Point as well, that debt payable from that area. Be back to the right page here. And then the last few pages really are just a breakdown of all of the different parcels that are included within your allocation area, which is a requirement of the April reporting requirement. So we don't need to scroll through everyone unless you guys want to tear through them, but that's just a full accounting of all the parcels that are in each one of those areas. Once again, color coded by the area that those parcels are within. So that kind of concludes the report. I will say I can answer any questions that you guys may have, comments you may have. I will be working with the group to get this either presented or provided to town council ahead of the April 15th, because technically this reporting requirement is our April 1st, where we present to the RDC. The April 15th, this same report needs to be provided to the council. That can be in the form of, like I said, the same type of presentation, or Scott, it can just be provided into their packets.
That's what.
Okay. And then I'll be working with Karen to get all of this information correctly uploaded to Gateway well in advance of the April 1st requirement. Other than that, that satisfies and completes my report. Any questions?
Yeah, on the parcels, so we added more parcels. Don't ask me what different ones.
Last year?
Yes, but
Okay.
those won't be reflected, right, until 2020.
Correct. So if you added them last year, do we have those? Yeah.
The PTR.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. So we actually have those built into the larger financial plan that kind of encompasses future years, right? But because they were added last year, they weren't actually parcels that we had captured assessed value. All that value was still in the base. So that's why it's not included in this report. So like I said, you guys see another reiteration of this report. Later this year, it will include those values of what we expect to receive from those properties this year. Okay.
All the newly added tip areas that we added last year will be on the next report.
Next year's report, you'll see those listed on the parcel. Yeah. So if you added them last year, your base assessment date would have been 1/1 of 23. So 1/1 of 24 would be the first year that we could even capture increment. So that will be payable in 25. So we won't receive revenues this year on those new parcels, but we will be able to see what value we're going to be getting for next year's revenue. And they will be included in this same report next year.
So this report is, I always get these terms. So the whole town, we're allowed to expend the funds in the whole town. We made that.
So that was your economic development area. Yep, those are important distinctions, right? The economic development area is where can we spend our TIF funds versus the allocation area, which is which specific parcels are driving our increment and our revenue.
So these are just allocation.
Correct. Correct.
I'll have to ask the same question.
No worries. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate the time.
Report, thank you.
Okay. Ready for the next item? So we'll go back to,
Scott.
You just giving term sheet updates, right?
do what?
You're just giving term sheet updates on that? You don't need me for anything?
No, that's right. You've been a bit, yeah, I want to make you stay. Sorry,
No.
I tricked you. I don't think it'll be but 5 minutes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I mean,
So.
you guys have a meeting at 5:30. That's early for me. So,
Yeah, so what we want to brief you up on, because this is the first, since I've been here, new TIF project, okay? So this has to do with the Kilcarney property. I've given you a quick brief about it before, right? So for Mike and Jeanette, this is the property that's off the roundabout as you go out of town, the first one before Wolfie's. So that whole parcel that's to the north, I think Jeff Purdue farms it. The stub off from the roundabout that goes to the north. This is that property. It's owned by the Kilcarney family. And they came to us with a, in the old days would have been a complicated, but now it's starting to be more common type economic incentive. So what they want to do with that, what they presented to us, and we went into negotiation. Matt was key player on the team, and then also Tom Pittman is our bond attorney. And Dan Maddox has sat in on a couple of these. So, and you're all invited whenever we meet to sit in on them. But basically, we've come down to the really the ends of negotiation on how this will work. So basically, Kilcarney's will come in and they're going to build $6 million worth of road. And this is a road that is going to be 4 lanes. It's a boulevard, and it's on our long range plan, thoroughfare plan. And it's a very important road for the town. And that's why we're involving ourselves in this economic development plan. So they come in up front in basically 3 parts. We'll build this road, as they're not going to build it until they're ready to develop it. But the first frontage there off the roundabout is ready to be developed. There'll be a convenience store going in there. And then some other outlots are up for sale. And they'll build that road on their own dime. And then as they develop the middle part, which is locally probably going to be most likely multifamily. Oh, good, you have that.
Yeah.
Really see it. So you can see what's going to happen here up front. Then the third phase most likely will be a business park. Then when that property develops to the north of that, then we'll continue this road and connect up to 132. If it comes time that we need that road for our traffic situation, then it's the other possibilities. We take it by eminent domain and find another way to fund that final stretch of the road. So they'll come in and they'll basically build this road, and Then going forward for 25 years, we will split the TIF revenue. They originally offered 90-10. We did some financial analysis back and forth. We did a benefit analysis, and in the end, we kept coming up with 2674, where the Kilcarney family, town of Pendleton, that's about the split where we had it equal. And so in the end, we negotiated just 2575. And so going forward for 25 years, as that TIF revenue increases, we'll get 25% of that, plus a free road. So, as you remember, our overall strategy on incentivizing has to do with quality of life, not economic development, but community development. And so one of the big quality of life issues we have is as we grow, we're already at traffic jams at 6,000. We're gonna have a real big problem at 40,000. This is one of the most important roads that we're gonna put in as we grow to prevent gridlock. Right, so this is actually a quality of life decision, not an economic development decision as far as our overall strategy, how to handle growth going forward in Pendleton. So with that, I open up to questions.
How far back will that go?
The road,
Mhm.
there's not a way to show the GIS, is there? Can we, yeah, let's try and go to the GIS and we'll show that.
I'm just, excuse me, trying to picture what's back there.
No, I got you. I'm like you, I gotta see the picture.
Me too.
With the map, right?
Yeah,
Is on the map.
yeah. I did play with my lady.
I knew it. There you go.
She had it out, she knew. So while that's coming up, the only thing we're trying to figure out right now is that, so he gets credit. He'll get credit for the impact fees for any of the construction. Beyond, the road is worth 6 million. He gets credit for 2 million of it for impact fees. And there's a way we're trying to come up to where we can monetize that up front and create a cash flow. So that's the sticking point. That's sort of put our bond attorney, can't figure out language to make that work.
What's that mean, Scott? That he would not pay impact fees?
So no. So the state law says that a project in the development or adjacent to the development, they get credit if they do the project, or you could use impact fees, right? Impact fees have to either benefit directly the project, so the roads around or through it, or a general area. Our whole town is the general area. So any impact fees that we have go to specified projects, listed projects. And it could go to those projects that help the town in general or the specific project. Okay, so because he's building a road for his development, he only needed really a 2-lane road. The town needs it to be a 4-lane. So adding the 2 lanes was beyond what the town needed. So we're giving him roughly $2 million in impact fee credits. Will generate a lot more than $2 million in impact fees on this project.
Will that only be for this first
No,
iteration or?
no, for all 3 phases. But
Well, but I mean, if we go beyond the 3 phases, will the impact fees kick in after that?
well, as he develops and puts in homes and office buildings and gas stations, we'll calculate what the impact fee is. And then if he keeps that and develops some of the ground, then he pays the impact fee. who he sells to, whoever develops the ground pays the impact fee. So when they come in for a construction permit, that's when they pay the fee.
So the credit just goes for this first thing he's doing.
No, he can cash it in anytime he wants, okay? So what he is, one of the things he wants to do, which I think is sort of innovative, have you seen this before? Where, well, actually, you have been in on this part, where, so he's gonna sell off to, let's say, I don't know who, it's, who the gas station is gonna be owned by, it's gonna be BP, yes, thank you. So BP comes in, they come to the town of Pendleton, and we say, we're ready to, this is normally what would happen, we're ready to start construction, you've approved our construction. Here's our, I think it's a $200,000 impact fee, it's quite substantial. And I may be way off on that, but something of that magnitude. So they would write a check, 200,000, we give them the construction permit. Instead, because he has $2 million in credit, what he may do is basically he would come to us and say, hey, BP is writing a $200,000 check. Instead, go ahead and use my credit, right? And then I get that $200,000. Right, so he's trying to monetize the credit up front, which is fine with me because that's between him and whoever he's cutting a deal with. We just have to be within the constraints of the law. And there's a way to make this thing probably happen. The attorneys just haven't figured out the way to do it. You seen that before?
What?
Monetize the impact fee?
I haven't, but it makes sense,
Yeah,
right? Because like I said, like you said, it's the overage of what he would have been building on the road himself
Right.
versus what we've asked him to build.
right. What's cool about this deal, just to remind you, so traditional TIF project would be the town would build the road, right? We would go get a bond, we guarantee the payment of the bond, and then the bond would hopefully be paid off as TIF revenue comes in. Well, there's a huge lag. First, you got to build the stuff, then you got a year wait because the assessed value is always a year and behind. And what if the economy crashes and we put in that $6 million road, we're making payments and it's an empty field still, and it hasn't developed. So we're totally at risk. With this deal, he's building the road up front, right? So we have no risk. The economy crashes, it's on him, right? There's no building going on in this country. Everything's 2008. Remember that? He's stuck.
I'll never say that again.
Right.
My question is, but if the economy continues to thrive
Yeah.
for the next 25 years
Yeah.
with ups and downs,
Yeah.
it seems to me that the town will be losing 75%
Yeah.
of what TIF revenue could be coming in the next 25 years.
But we'd be making a bond payment and guarantee you it would be taking 100% of that.
Right, but for his 6 million, and I might be saying this wrong, but for his initial 6 million investment, that could turn into quite a bit of money for this
Yes.
company
Yes.
that the town's gonna lose.
You're gonna get it back in impact fees and economic development.
Yeah.
And tax bases and the tax
Yeah.
assessments and revenue.
How's the best way to explain
Sure.
that?
Yeah, we fully quantified all of their projections on assessments, on investments. You know, we kind of did our own
Benefit analysis.
benefit analysis completely separate from their advisors to
Mhm.
kind of actually quantify what we fully expect this to assess at and to generate based on comps around the county and around the state. So I'm confident that our analysis is dialed in, and that's how we got to that 75-25 is that even split.
I would think you're gonna speeding up, accelerating the development in that area too, by having that road in first.
Well, and then the other thing to add too is if we would have gone out and got a bond ourselves, the interest rate we would have gotten would have been well and above, market rates right now, because that's a speculative investment. That's a bank saying, hey, I'm gonna loan you this money on a development that you're gonna be paying back on that hasn't even occurred. Like that rate would be significant. So, and that's why I think that our our advising is always to how can we limit and eliminate the risk for the town, right?
I would think the cost of the infrastructure is gonna be increasing, so the road's being first, it probably saved them money and our part too. I mean, cause asphalt and stone and everything's gonna be, keep going up in prices. Let's increase like 13.5% over the next 18 months.
Scott, did you say that this is going on,
This
not
is,
everywhere, but it's becoming?
well, it's
a thing?
becoming, communities are beginning to grab a hold of this idea because it takes in fact, the first time I read it, I was like, this is upside down. I don't like this idea. So I called Jeff Graham and he goes, dummy. He goes, the risk for the town is shifted to the developer.
Is there a name for this? A certain name that's
It's
associated with it?
It's, so technically it's a bond, right? But it's more, the way I like to call it is an economic development incentive agreement, right? We're not issuing a bond. There's no bank transaction where there's money being exchanged at the onset of the agreement, but we're looking to monetize that tip revenue over time, right? And that's where, you know, if his numbers, if he doesn't develop it, once again, there's nothing on us. He's getting 75 and we're getting 25, whether it's 100 million, whether it's $1 million, you know, we're protected in that scenario.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, it's, I mean, Steve, I don't blame you. I would ask a lot of questions too, because I did at the beginning and it took a meeting or two before my light bulb came on as to what they were actually proposing, because it was so 180 degrees out to what I'd been used to working with. Because up front, it didn't feel like to me that would work. But then when Jeff Graham explained that, no, they're taking the risk. The town doesn't have to get a bond. We're not on the hook with those bond payments. And the economy, if things don't develop there as quickly as expected, or the economy slows down, we're not holding the bond. We're not making the bond payments. He is.
There is a chance that if the economy booms, as Steve suggested, they will do better than we will, but we will still do fine.
Yeah.
Well, the proportion would still be the same. So
Yeah, I think that the other thing to keep in mind, and we didn't want to, I feel like when you're doing these types of analysis and these agreements, right, you can toss in all types of numbers and calculations to, oh, well, we haven't factored in this benefit or this benefit, right? So initially we were thinking about the income tax, right? If any development as far as housing occurs, that's additional income tax dollars for the town of Pendleton. We didn't include that in our analysis. So I think there's a lot more things that could behoove us that we didn't want to include. We wanted to kind of just boil it down to its simplest form, come up with how can we equally share this TIF revenue based on our projections.
actually, we remember early on, we did do the complicated
Yep.
analysis and it came out right at 25.75, somewhere in there. And then we simplified it,
They were adamant, they still wanted 90-10 and we kind of just held our ground
you
and,
know,
Thank
we just,
That was crazy, 90.
yeah.
How far does $6 million go?
Yeah.
okay,
Road
so,
wise,
yep, okay.
how far up?
So, Stephanie, can you scroll down so that we can see at the bottom will be the roundabout, and then we could see up where 132. No, go ahead.
Or you want out further?
Yeah, go ahead and go farther out.
Just
Yeah, okay, that's good. That works. So the long range plan, and this is to be not a bypass, because the bypasses kill downtown, but what I call a relief valve. So the road is on the thoroughfare plan, comes up to here, straight up on this property. It can meander a little bit, but anyway, basically it will come straight up and then it curves over and then connects to 132 here, right? And then so traffic that wants to go to the north part of town, which is developed up, Carrick Land happening, expected one of these other parcels will develop soon. So it's a way to get north without having to go through town and then up here. However, when it's traffic jam time, non-rush hour time, it's easier and more scenic to come this way and people just enjoy this route. So it's not, the only time we'll use this route is when it's non-rush hour. or when it's rush hour? Okay.
Jeff's on.
Okay, thanks. So, and then the thoroughfare plan calls for, as this field develops or this field develops, that there'll be boulevards in these subdivisions and then it'll connect up here to 600 South. It may look like this. It may look like this. It's just how all this developed. It may look like this. But anyway, it'll eventually connect it here to North Pendleton Avenue.
But the 6 million only goes,
The 6 million,
takes you how far?
it
Just-
takes you, it's only for this property right here.
It takes you that far, all the way to the line.
Yeah, 6 million, but it's a boulevard. It's 4 lanes.
Yeah. And how,
It's 100-foot right away.
do they have the same specs on their building, or does it county specs or? Or
It's our
town
specs.
Your specs on
Yep.
building the 4 lane?
Yep.
Okay.
Scott, what's the timeline of that road going in?
So, it all depends, but basically this is ready to go right here. They're ready to go. We've just got to finalize this, and you can zoom in, Stephanie, a little bit. Or you can go back to that one diagram that you showed early on. So this section 1 is pretty much almost ready to go. He's got a buyer that they're just waiting to close on. And that's the VP.
Has Wolfie's talked to anybody about for some more parking?
They need to. Yeah. I think once we settle with the term sheets I made, they've talked. Kilcarney's and Wolfie's have talked. When this develops here, we're gonna have to do it in a way that will help with Wolfie's drainage.
Is this something starting 2024 or like a 2025 thing?
No, I think he's determined to start this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Think we're
Nice
just-
to get that road in before they're doing 67 too.
Yeah, we won't be connected for a long time. Remember, so the beauty of this is that we'll get this one in place, and then as those parcels develop up there, that's gonna need a way for traffic to get up there, right? Without going through downtown. So whoever develops that, we're gonna make them pay for the road. Either they do it through an impact fee and we build it ourselves. Or it's part of their development. We make them do their plat plan in a way that allows for that traffic flow up to 600 South. Or they do a credit, sort of like what's happening here.
That was gonna be my question. And I think it's great, and I think it'll work.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, I don't know, it's just my opinion, but I feel like it might develop really rather quickly. But I was interested in who's gonna pay for so the developer's gonna pay for any of the roads that go
Yeah,
past that.
all the infrastructure, right? And that includes water, storm, sanitary, streetlights. They put that all in.
That's great.
So the middle part was, planning commission approved it to be townhouses. So one of the things about that, so that development won't lend itself to a higher downtown traffic volume during rush hour, right? So maybe more traffic down here for the restaurants and everybody else, but
Sounds good.
yeah.
Did you have anything to add
Nope.
about it?
The only thing I'd add is, once the attorneys get the language worked out within the term sheet, I'm sure I'll be back to
Yeah,
get
you
the
guys got-
application areas set up and everything else along those lines.
Yeah, because you guys gotta approve it. You've gotta sign it. You have to formally approve it.
Was that area tipped in also?
Yeah, it was already existing TIF, but I'm glad you brought that up. So we will is the term allocate. It'll be a standalone.
Yeah, we'll remove it and then create its own area.
That way we have a better starting period, don't we?
Yep, because
So
it's-
we get the full term.
Yep.
Exactly.
And we won't do the other parcel because we don't want its clock to start with this. 'Cause remember, once you have a bond with it, although it's a it's a fake bond.
It's that's where I was saying it, it's a bond, but it's not, so, but it's an obligation that's incurred by that area, so that starts that 25-year clock.
Nice.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
And you know, I have to compliment you. You know, I was on the council for like 16 years or something. And I really, it's always been a big thing with me. When a town grows, they grow from the town out, which is what we're doing. They're not way out there in the middle of nowhere coming into town.
Yeah,
I love that, you know, that's taking place.
yeah. I think you're touching on something that planning commission's working on right now is getting in more detail with the quadrant, the interchange plan. And remember, one of the biggest worries we had developing out there, especially on the other side of the interstate, is we don't want two downtowns
Right, exactly.
until the population is big enough. Because if you do that, then the new center of gravity is out there on the west side, and then the downtown doesn't have its vibrant activity, businesses that are here. Start to lose businesses to all the restaurants or whatever that go out there, so. Keeping that under control, the amount that we can,
Right,
is important.
I think you did good.
Thanks.
Nice.
Okay.
Any other questions for Scott on any of this from anyone? All right, is that all we had to discuss? You got anything else, Scott?
All we had. Somebody else has something.
Anybody else got anything you need to bring up? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.